This is good. Shall I see? 2 minutes. 15-20 minutes only. Should I start now? Next one. Start from here. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 141. Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 141. One who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away. Purport by Sri Prabhupada. It is said, Adhyapanam Brahma Yajna Pitra Yajnastu Tarpanam Homo Daivo Balir Bhavdo Nrayajno Atiti Pujanam. By offering oblations with ghee, one satisfies the demigods. By studying the Vedas, one performs Brahma Yajna, which satisfies the great sages. Offering libations of water before one's forefathers is called Pitru Yajna. By offering tribute, one performs Bhuta Yajna. By properly receiving guests, one performs Nra Yajna. These are the 5 yajnas that liquidate the 5 kinds of indebtedness. Indebtedness to the demigods, great sages, forefathers, living entities, and common men. Therefore, one has to perform these 5 kinds of yajnas. But when one takes to the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one does not have to perform any other yajna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni made a statement about the systematic performance of Bhagavata Dharma in connection with statements previously made by the 9 Yogendras before Maharaja Nimi. The sage Karabhajana Rishi explained the 4 incarnations of the 4 yugas, and at the end, in this verse, text 141, he explained the position of Krishna's pure devotee and how he is absolved of all debts. Text 142. Although the pure devotee does not follow all the regulative principles of Varnashrama, he worships the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, he naturally has no tendency to commit sin. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Varnashrama institution is planned in such a way that one will not commit sinful activities. Material existence continues due to sinful activity. When one acts sinfully in this life, he gets a suitable body for the next life. When one again acts sinfully, he takes another material body. In this way, one is continuously under the influence of material nature. Purusha prakriti sthohi bhumte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the 3 modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. Due to our association with the modes of material nature, we get different types of bodies, good and bad. One cannot be liberated from the cycle of birth and death, known as transmigration of the soul, unless one is completely freed from all sinful activities. The best process, therefore, is to take to Krishna consciousness. One cannot take to Krishna consciousness without being freed from all sinful activities. Naturally, one who is very serious about Krishna consciousness is freed from all sinful activity. Consequently, a devotee is never inclined to commit sins. If one is pressured by the law or obligations to give up sinful activity, one cannot do so. However, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, he can very easily give up all sinful activity. This is confirmed herein. Text 143. If, however, a devotee accidentally becomes involved in a sinful activity, Krishna purifies him. He does not have to undergo the regulative form of atonement. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Krishna purifies from within as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within the heart. This is described in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.42. Text 144. One who has given up everything and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to Krishna. If he is involved in some sinful activity by accident, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, removes his sins without difficulty. Text 145. The path of speculative knowledge and renunciation is not essential for devotional service. Indeed, good qualities such as non-violence and control of the mind and senses automatically accompany a devotee of Lord Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes a neophyte devotee or ordinary person thinks highly of speculative knowledge, austerity, penances, and renunciation, thinking them the only path for advancement in devotional service. Actually, this is not the fact. The path of knowledge, mystic yoga, and renunciation has nothing to do with the pure soul. When one is temporarily in the material world, such processes may help a little, but they are not necessary for a pure devotee of Krishna. In the material world, such activities end in material enjoyment or merging into the effulgence of the Supreme. They have nothing to do with the eternal loving service of the Lord. If one abandons speculative knowledge and simply engages in devotional service, he has attained perfection. The devotee has no need for speculative knowledge, pious activity, or mystic yoga. All these are automatically present when one renders the Lord transcendental loving service. Text 146. For one who is fully engaged in my devotional service, whose mind is fixed on me in Bhakti Yoga, the path of speculative knowledge and dry renunciation is not very beneficial. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The path of devotional service is always independent of other activity. The path of speculative knowledge and mystic yoga may be a little beneficial in the beginning, but it cannot be considered part of devotional service. This verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.31, was spoken by Lord Krishna when he was speaking to Uddhava before his departure from this material world. These are important instructions given directly by Lord Krishna. Sri Uddhava asked the Lord about the two kinds of instructions given in the Vedas. One instruction is called Pravritti Marga and the other is called Nivritti Marga. These are directions for enjoying the material world according to regulative principles and then giving up the material world for higher spiritual understanding. Sometimes one does not know whether to practice speculative knowledge and mystic yoga for advancement in spiritual knowledge. Krishna explains to Uddhava that the mechanical process of speculative knowledge and yoga is not necessary for advancing in devotional service. Devotional service is completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with material things. It is awakened by hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. Because devotional service is always transcendental, it has nothing to do with material activity. Text 147. O hunter, good qualities like non-violence, which you have developed, are not very astonishing, for those who are engaged in the Lord's devotional service are never inclined to give pain to others because of envy. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This is a quotation from the Skanda Purana. It was spoken by Narada Muni to the reformed hunter Mrigadi. Text 148. My dear Sanātana, I have now in detail described devotional service according to the regulative principles. Now hear from me about spontaneous devotional service and its characteristics. Text 149. The original inhabitants of Vrindavana are attached to Krishna spontaneously in devotional service. Nothing can compare to such spontaneous devotional service, which is called Ragatmika Bhakti. When a devotee follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavana, his devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Gosvāmī states, Tad evam tad abhimana lakshana bhava visheshena swabhavika ragasya vaishishye sati tad raga prayukta shravana kirtana smarana pada sevana vandanatma nivedana praya bhaktis tesham ragatmika bhaktir iti uchyate. Tatas tadiyam ragam rucyanugachanti sa raganuga. When a pure devotee follows the footsteps of a devotee in Vrindavana, he develops Raganuga Bhakti. Text 150. When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to one's natural inclination to love Him, and is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord, that state is called transcendental attachment. And devotional service according to that attachment is called Ragatmika, or spontaneous devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-272. Text 151. The primary characteristic of spontaneous love is deep attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Absorption in thought of Him is a marginal characteristic. Text 152. Thus, devotional service which consists of raga, deep attachment, is called ragatmika, spontaneous loving service. If a devotee covets such a position, he is considered to be most fortunate. Text 153. If one follows in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavana out of such transcendental covetousness, he does not care for the injunctions or reasonings of Shastra. That is the way of spontaneous love. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura says that a devotee is attracted by the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavana, namely the cowherdmen, Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, Radha Rani, the gopis, and the cows and calves. An advanced devotee is attracted by the service rendered by an eternal servitor of the Lord. This attraction is called spontaneous attraction. Technically, it is called Swarupa Upalabdhi. This stage is not achieved in the beginning. In the beginning, one has to render service strictly according to the regulative principles set forth by the revealed scriptures and the spiritual master. By continuously rendering service through the process of Vaidhi Bhakti, one's natural inclination is gradually awakened. That is called spontaneous attraction or Raganuga Bhakti. An advanced devotee situated on the platform of spontaneity is already very expert in Shastric instruction, logic, and argument. When he comes to the point of eternal love for Krishna, no one can deviate him from that position, neither by argument nor by Shastric evidence. An advanced devotee has realized his eternal relationship with the Lord, and consequently, he does not accept the logic and arguments of others. Such an advanced devotee has nothing to do with the Sahajiyas who manufacture their own way and commit sins by indulging in illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. If not meat eating. Sometimes the Sahajiyas imitate advanced devotees and live in their own whimsical way, avoiding the principles set down in the revealed scriptures. Unless one follows the 6 Gosvāmīs, Sri Rupa, Sanātana, Raghunatha Bhatta, Sri Jiva, Gopala Bhatta, and Raghunatha Dasa, one cannot be a bona fide spontaneous lover of Krishna. In this connection, Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Haive Akuti, Kabe Hama Bhujava Se Jugala Priti. The Sahajiyas' understanding of the love affairs between Radha and Krishna is not bona fide because they do not follow the principles laid down by the 6 Gosvāmīs. Their illicit connection and their imitation of the dress of Rupa Goswami as well as their avoidance of the prescribed methods of revealed scriptures will lead them to the lowest regions of hell. These imitative Sahajiyas are cheated and unfortunate. They are not equal to advanced devotees, Paramahamsas. Debauchees and Paramahamsas are not on the same level. Text 154. Devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavana. Devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving service. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-270. Text 155. When an advanced realized devotee hears about the affairs of the devotees of Vrindavana in the mellows of Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Valsalya, and Madhurya, he becomes inclined in one of these ways and his intelligence becomes attracted. Indeed, he begins to covet that particular type of devotion. When such covetousness is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instructions of Shastra, revealed scripture, or on logic and argument. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This verse is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-292. Text 156-157. There are two processes by which one may execute this Raganuga Bhakti, external and internal. When self-realized, the advanced devotee externally remains like a neophyte and executes all the Shastric injunctions, especially those concerning hearing and chanting. But within his mind, in his original purified self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavana in his particular way. He serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. Text 158. The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavana. He should execute service externally as a regulative devotee, as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-295. Text 159. Actually, the inhabitants of Vrindavana are very dear to Krishna. If one wants to engage in spontaneous loving service, he must follow the inhabitants of Vrindavana and constantly engage in devotional service within his mind. Text 160. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavana. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavana. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavana, he should mentally live there. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-294. You know how to go down.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay.
So this verse now.
161.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Text 161. Text 161, translation. Krishna has many types of devotees. Some are servants, some are friends, some are parents, and some other are conjugal lovers. Devotees who are situated in one of these attitudes of spontaneous love, according to their choice, are considered to be on the path of spontaneous loving service. Text 162, translation. My dear mother, Devahuti, O emblem of peace, my weapon, the disk of time, never vanishes those for whom I am very dear, for whom I am the super soul, son, friend, spiritual master, well-wisher, worshipable deity, and desired goal. Since the devotees are always attracted to me, they are never vanquished by the agents of time. Purport. This was spoken by Kapila Deva to his mother Devahuti and is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-38. Kapila Deva instructed his mother in Sankhya Yoga. But the importance of Bhakti Yoga is mentioned here. Later, Sankhya Yoga was imitated by atheists, whose system was founded by a different Kapila Deva, Rishi Kapila Deva. Text 163. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again to those who always eagerly meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a husband, son, friend, brother, father, or intimate friend. This appears in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-308. Text 164. If one engages in spontaneous loving service to the Lord, his affection for the lotus feet of Krishna gradually increases. Text 165. In the seed of affection, there is attachment which goes by two names, Rati and Bhava. The Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the control of such attachment. Purport. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on this verse. Externally, a devotee performs all the items of devotional service in 9 different ways, beginning with Shravana and Kirtana. And within his mind, he always thinks of his eternal relationship with Krishna and follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavana. If one engages himself in the service of Radha and Krishna in this way, he can transcend the regulative principles enjoined in the Shastras and through his spiritual master fully engage in rendering spontaneous love to Krishna. In this way, he attains affection at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna actually comes under the control of such spontaneous feelings, and ultimately, one can attain association with the Lord. Text 166. That by which one can attain loving service to the Lord, I have described in detail as the execution of devotional service called Abhideya. Text 167. My dear Sanātana, I have briefly described the process of devotional service in practice, which is the means for obtaining love of Krishna. It cannot be described broadly. Text 168. Whoever hears this description of the process of practical devotional service very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. Text 169. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Dasa, narrate Śri Caitanya Caritamrta following in their footsteps. Purport. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of Śri Caitanya Caritamrta, Madhya lila, 22nd chapter, describing the execution of devotional service. Chapter 23. Okay. Chapter 23. Life's ultimate goal, love of Godhead. The following summary of the 23rd chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravatha Bhashya. In this chapter, Śri Caitanya Mahāprabhu describes the symptom of emotion and love and the awakening of one's original loving relationship with the Lord, as well as the characteristics of a devotee who has actually attained that stage. He then describes the gradual increase of love of God up to the point of Mahabhava. He then describes the 5 divisions of attraction and how they continue. He also describes the mellow derived from conjugal love, which is a supreme emotion. Conjugal love is divided into 2 categories, Swakiya and Parakiya. Swakiya refers to the loving affair between husband and wife. Parakiya refers to loving affair between 2 lovers. There are a number of descriptions in this connection. There is also a description of the 64 transcendental qualities of Krishna and the 25 transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. Śri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then describes those candidates who are eligible to taste the mellows of devotional service. Their fundamental nature and their varieties are also described. The Lord also informs Sanātana Gosvāmī about all the confidential paraphernalia of devotional service. He gives a description of Goloka Vrindavana, where the Lord is engaged in his eternal pastime described in the Harivamsha. There is also an opposing description and a favorable description of Kesha Avatara. All these instructions are mentioned herein. In this way, Śri Caitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Sanātana Gosvāmī, placing his hand on his head. Thus, Sanātana received the power to describe these subjects in books like Haribhakti Vilasa. Text 1. The most munificent Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Gaura Krishna, distributed to everyone, even the lowest of men, his own confidential treasury in the form of the nectar of love of himself and the holy name. This was never given to the people at any time before. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Text 2. All glories to Śri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 3. Śri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued. Now hear, O Sanātana, about the result of devotional service, which is love of Godhead, life's ultimate goal. One who hears this description will be enlightened in the transcendental mellows of devotional service. Text 4. When affection for Krishna becomes deeper, one attains love of Godhead in devotional service. Such a position is called Sthayi Bhava, permanent enjoyment of the mellows of devotional service to Krishna. Text 5. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and one is then situated in bhava. Purport. This verse is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 131. Text 6. Bhava or emotion has two different symptoms, constitutional and marginal. Now, my dear Sanātana, listen to the symptoms of love. Purport. The word Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma means situated on the transcendental platform of pure goodness. In this way, the soul is purified of all material contamination, and this position is called Swarupa Lakshana, the constitutional symptom of bhava emotion. By various tastes, one's heart is softened, and there is an awakening of one's loving propensity to render spontaneous service to the Lord. This is called Tatastha Lakshana, the marginal symptom of bhava. Text 7. When the bhava softens the heart completely, becomes endued with a great feeling of possessiveness in relation to the Lord, and becomes very much condensed and intensified, it is called prema, love of Godhead, by learned scholars. Purport. This verse is also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 141. Text 8. When one develops an unflinching sense of ownership or possessiveness in relation to Lord Vishnu, or in other words, when one thinks Vishnu and no one else to be the only object of love, such an awakening is called bhakti by exalted persons like Bhishma, Prahalada, Uddhava, and Narada. Purport. This verse quoted from the Narada Pancharatra is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 142. Text 9. If by good fortune a living entity develops faith in Krishna, he begins to associate with devotees. Text 10. When one is encouraged in devotional service by the association of devotees, one becomes free from all unwanted contamination by following the regulative principles and chanting and hearing. Text 11. When one is freed from all unwanted contamination, he advances with firm faith. When firm faith in devotional service awakens, a taste for hearing and chanting also awakens. Text 12. After taste is awakened, a deep attachment arises, and from that attachment, the seed of love for Krishna grows in the heart. Text 13. When that ecstatic emotional stage intensifies, it is called love of Godhead. Such love is life's ultimate goal and the reservoir of all pleasure, purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes this growth of love of Godhead as a gradual process. A person becomes interested in devotional service by some good fortune. Eventually, he becomes interested in pure devotional service without material contamination. At that point, a person wants to associate with devotees. As a result of this association, he becomes more and more interested in discharging devotional service and hearing and chanting. The more one is interested in hearing and chanting, the more he is purified of material contamination. Liberation from material contamination is called anartha nivritti, indicating a diminishing of all unwanted things. This is the test of development in devotional service. If one actually develops a devotional attitude, he must be freed from the material contamination of illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. These are the preliminary symptoms. When one is freed from all material contamination, his firm faith in devotional service awakens. When firm faith develops, a taste arises, and by that taste, one becomes attached to devotional service. When this attachment intensifies, the seed of love of Krishna fructifies. This position is called priti or rati, affection, or bhava, emotion. When rati intensifies, it is called love of Godhead. This love of Godhead is actually life's highest perfection and the reservoir of all pleasure. Thus, devotional life is divided into two stages, sadhana bhakti and bhava bhakti. Sadhana bhakti refers to the development of devotional service through the regulative principles. The basic principles for the execution of devotional service is faith. Above that, there's association with devotees, and after that, there is initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. After initiation, when one follows the regulative principles of devotional service, one becomes freed from all unwanted things. In this way, one becomes firmly fixed and gradually develops a taste for devotional service. The more the taste grows, the more one desires to render service to the Lord. In this way, one becomes attached to a particular mellow in the Lord's service. Santa Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, or Madhura. As a result of such attachment, bhava develops. Bhava bhakti is the platform of purified godness. By such purified godness, one's heart melts in devotional service. Bhava bhakti is the first seed of love of Godhead. This emotional stage is therefore before one attains pure love. When that emotional stage intensifies, it is called prema bhakti, or transcendental love of Godhead. This gradual process is also described in the following two verses, which are found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1 4 15 to 16. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I thought one of them can read also. I was wondering. So 100 minutes after that you move. Oh, this is Text 14:15, translation. In the beginning there must be faith. Then one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees. Thereafter, one is initiated by the spiritual master and executes the regulative principles under his orders. Thus, one is freed from all unwanted habits and becomes firmly fixed in devotional service. Thereafter, one develops taste and attachment. This is the way of sadhana bhakti, the execution of a devotional service according to regulative principles. Gradually, emotions intensify, and finally, there is an awakening of love. This is a gradual development of love of Godhead for the devotee interested in Krishna consciousness. Translation. The spiritually powerful message of Godhead can be properly discussed only in a society of devotees, and it is greatly pleasing to hear in that association. If one hears from devotees, the way of transcendental experience quickly opens, and gradually one attains firm faith that in due course develops into attraction and devotion. Purport. Text 17, translation. If one actually has the seed of transcendental emotion in his heart, the symptoms will be visible in his activities. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Translation. When the seed of ecstatic emotion for Krishna fructifies, the following 9 symptoms manifest in one's behavior. Forgiveness, concern that time should not be wasted, detachment, absence of false prestige, hope, eagerness, a taste for chanting the holy name of the Lord, attachment to descriptions of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and affection for those places where the Lord resides, that is, a temple or a holy place like Vrindavana. These are called anubhava, subordinate signs of ecstatic emotion. They are visible in a person in whose heart the seed of love of God has begun to fructify. These 2 verses are found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Text 20. If love for Krishna in a seeding state is fructified in one's heart, one is not agitated by material things. Text 21, translation. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird, or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created, bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, verse 15, spoken by Maharaja Parikshit while he was sitting on the bank of the Ganges, expecting to be bitten by a snake bird, summoned by the curse of a Brahmana boy named Sringi, who was the son of a great sage named Samika. News of the curse was conveyed to the king, who prepared for his imminent death. Many great saintly persons, sages, brahmanas, kings and demigods came to see him in his last days. Maharaja Parikshit, however, was not at all afraid of being bitten by the snake bird. Indeed, he requested all the great personalities assembled to continue chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu. Text 22, translation. Not a moment should be lost. Every moment should be utilized for Krishna or connected with him. Purport. Maharaja Parikshit's expression of anxiety is explained in this verse. He says, let whatever is destined to happen take place. It doesn't matter. Just let me see that not a moment of my time is wasted without a relationship with Krishna. One has to tolerate all the obstacles on the path of Krishna consciousness. And one has to see that not a moment of his life is wasted outside of Krishna service. Text 23 translation. With their words, they offer prayers to the Lord. With their minds, they always remember the Lord. With their bodies, they offer obeisances to the Lord. Despite all these activities, they are still not satisfied. This is the nature of pure devotees. Shedding tears from their eyes, they dedicated their whole lives to the Lord service. Purport. This verse is from Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya. Is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 29. Text 24, translation. In the material field, people are interested in material enjoyment, mystic power, and sense gratification. But these things do not appeal to the devotee at all. Text 25, translation. King Bharata was very eager to attain the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is called Uttama Sloka, because poems and prayers are offered to him for his favor. In his youth, King Bharata gave up his attractive wife and children, as well as his beloved friends and opulent kingdom, just as one gives up a stool after passing it. Purport. These are the signs of virakti, detachment, found in a person who has developed bhava, the preliminary stage of love of Godhead. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, verse 43. Text 26, translation. Although a pure devotee's standard is above all, he still considers himself to be in the lower stage of life. Text 27, translation. King Bhagirath always carried affection for Krishna within his heart. Although King Bhagirath was the crown jewel of kings, he was still wandering about and begging alms in the city of his enemies. He was even offering respects to Chandalas, low-class men who eat dogs. Purport. This is a quotation from Padma Purana. Text 28 translation. A fully surrendered devotee always hopes that Lord Krishna will be kind to him. This hope is very firm in him. Text 29 translation. O my Lord, I do not have any love for you, nor am I qualified for discharging the devotion service by chanting and hearing, nor do I possess the mystic power of a Vaishnava, knowledge or pious activities, nor do I belong to a very high caste family. On the whole, I do not possess anything. Still, O beloved of the gopis, because you bestow your mercy on the most fallen, I have an unbreakable hope that is constantly in my heart. That hope is always giving me pain. Purport. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 35. Text 30 translation. The eagerness is chiefly characterized by an ardent desire to associate with the Lord. Text 31 translation. O Krishna, O flute player, the sweetness of your early age is wonderful within these three worlds. You know my unsteadiness, and I know yours. No one else knows about this. I want to see your beautiful, attractive face somewhere in a solitary place. But how can this be accomplished? Purport. This is a verse from Krishna Karnamrita 32. Text 32 translation. Due to having great relish for the holy name, one is inclined to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra constantly. Text 33. Translation. O Govinda, this youthful girl named Radhika is today constantly pouring forth tears like nectar falling from flowers as she sings your holy names in a sweet voice. Purport. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 38. Text 34, translation. At this stage of bhava, a devotee has awakened the tendency to chant and describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. He has attachment for this process. It's 35 onwards. We can see that.
O my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna was very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body. But his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. Purport. This is a verse quoted from Bilvamangala Thakura's Krishna Caritamrta 19. Text 36. Translation. A devotee observed in ecstatic emotion for Krishna always resides in a place where Krishna's pastimes were performed. Text 37, translation. O Lord, Pundarikaksha, while chanting your holy name with tears in my eyes, when shall I dance in ecstasy on the bank of Yamuna? Purport. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.156. Text 38 translation. These are the symptoms of a person who has developed attraction, bhava, for Krishna. Now let me describe the symptoms of a person who is actually elevated to love of Krishna. O Sanātana, please hear this from me. Text 39 translation. Even the most learned man cannot understand the words, activities, and symptoms of a person situated in love of Godhead. Text 40 translation. Even a most learned scholar cannot understand the activities and symptoms of an exalted personality in whose heart love of Godhead has awakened. Purport. This verse is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.17. Text 41 translation. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Purport. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.4.40. Text 42 translation. Love of Godhead increases and is manifested as affection, counter love, love, attachment, sub-attachment, ecstasy, and sublime ecstasy. Text 43 translation. This development is compared to sugarcane seeds, sugarcane plants, sugarcane juice, molasses, crude sugar, refined sugar, sugar candy, and rock. Text 44 translation. One should understand that just as the taste of sugar increases as it is gradually purified, so when love of Godhead increases from rati, which is compared to the beginning seed, its taste increases. Text 45 translation. According to the candidate possessing these transcendental qualities, sneha, mana, and so on, there are 5 transcendental mellows: neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.3.41.44, rati, attraction, is thus described. Vyaktam marshante vantar lakshyate rati lakshanam mumukshu
प्रभृतीनां चेत् भावेत् एष रतिर् न हि किन्तु बालचमत्कार कारी तच्चिन्न वीक्षया अभिज्ञेन सुबोधयं रत्याभशः प्रकीर्तितः. The real symptoms of the fructification of the seed of love, rati, are manifested because the heart is melted. When such symptoms are found among speculators and fruitive actors, they cannot be accepted as real symptoms of attachment. Foolish people without knowledge of devotional service praise such symptoms of attachment, even when they are based on something other than a desire to serve Krishna. However, one who is expert in devotional service calls such symptoms pratyabhasha, a mere glimpse of attachment. Translation, text 46, translation. These five transcendental mellows exist permanently. The devotee may be attracted to one of these mellows and thus he becomes happy. Krishna also becomes inclined towards such a devotee and comes under his control. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.1, Sthai Bhava, permanent ecstasy, is thus described. Aviruddhan viruddhamscha bhavan yo vashatam nayan surajeva virajeta sasthai bhava uchyate sthai bhavotra saproktah Shri Krishna Vishayaritihi. These moods, bhava, bring under control the favorable ecstasies such as laughing and unfavorable ecstasies such as anger. When these moods continue to remain as kings, they are called sthai bhava or permanent ecstasies. Continuous ecstatic love for Krishna is called permanent ecstasy. Text 47 translation. When the permanent ecstasies, neutrality, servitorship, and so on are mixed with other ingredients, devotional service in love of Godhead is transformed and becomes composed of transcendental mellows. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.4 and 5, the following definition is given. Athasya Keshava Lakshitaya Nigadyate Samagri Pariposhena Paramarasa Rupata Vibhavair Anubhavaischa Sattvikai Vyabhicharibihi Swadhyarvam Hridi Bhaktanam Anita Shravanadibihi Esha Krishna Ratisthai Bhavo Bhakti Raso Bhavet. Love for Krishna, Keshava, as previously described, reaches the supreme state of being composed of mellows when its ingredients are fulfilled. By means of Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, and Vyabhichari, hearing and chanting are activated, and the devotee is able to taste love for Krishna. Then attachment for Krishna or permanent ecstasy, sthai bhava, becomes the mellow of devotional service, bhakti rasa. Text 48, translation. Permanent ecstasy becomes a more and more relishable transcendental mellow through the mixture of special ecstasy, subordinate ecstasy, natural ecstasy, and transitory ecstasy. 48.
Yeah, you can also read. Okay.
This voice is not.
Voice is not. You can read for him.
Okay.
No, you can finish wherever you are. Okay.
When do you have to continue?
So please. 15 minutes.
The persons are so deep, so
Yeah. She said you can continue. Up to you. Or you can stop.
I'll stop at 50.
You're at 49 right now. You can stop at 50. That's a good milestone.
Text 49 translation. Yogurt mixed with sugar candy, black pepper, and camphor is very palatable and tasty. Similarly, when permanent ecstasy mixes with other ecstatic symptoms, it becomes unprecedentedly tasty. Text 50 translation. There are two kinds of particular ecstasies, vibhava. One is called the support and the other is called the awakening. The vibration of Krishna's flute is an example of the awakening, and Lord Krishna himself is an example of the support. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.14, Vibhava is described as follows. Tatra nena vibhavastu rati ashvadana hetavaha te vidha lambana eke tathai bodhipanah pari. The cause bringing about the tasting of love for Krishna is called Vibhava. Vibhava is divided into two categories, Alambana, support, and Uddipana, awakening. In the Agni Purana, it is stated, Vibhavyate hi ratyadir yatra yena vibhavyate Vibhavo namasa de dvedha lambanodipanatmakaha. That which causes love to Krishna to appear is called Vibhava. That has two divisions, Alambana, in which love appears, and Uddipana, by which love appears. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.16, the following is stated about Alambana. Krishnascha Krishna Bhaktascha Budhair Alambana Mataha Ratyade Vishayatvena Tathadharayapicha. The object of love is Krishna, and the container of that love is the devotee of Krishna. Learned scholars call them Alambana, the foundation. Similarly, Uddipana is described as follows. Uddipanastu te prokta bhavam uddipayanti te tu Shri Krishna Chandrascha gunaschetaha prasadhanam. Those things which awaken ecstatic love are called Uddipana. Mainly, this awakening is made possible by the qualities and activities of Krishna, as well as by his mode of decoration and the way his hair is arranged. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.301. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1.302 also gives the following further examples of Uddipana. Smitanga Saurabhi Vamsha Shringa Nupura Kambhavaha Padanka Kshetra Tulasi Bhakta Tad Vasaradayaha. Krishna's smile, the fragrance of his transcendental body, his flute, bugle, ankle bells, and conch shells, the marks on his feet, his place of residence, his favorite plant tulsi, his devotees, and the observance of fasts and vows connected to his devotion, all awaken the symptoms of ecstatic love. Stop the screen. Till 50. 50? Yeah. Should start from 50.
You went up to 50.
Full number.
Yeah, you were at what?